Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. My name is Kendi Hilliard, and I'm currently a student athlete playing NCAA Division I volleyball. Let's talk about reflection. As an aspiring athletic director, I believe reflection is one of the most important skills a person can have. As my chapter of being a student athlete closes, I reflect on my experience at the NCAA's Student Athlete Leadership Training, or SALT as we would call it. At SALT, I was able to uncover my core values as well as understand and develop my own leadership philosophy. I also brought some of what I learned back to my administration and my school's SAC. The activities assisted me as SAC president and as a current upperclassman in helping those around me realize that they could be and are leaders in their own right. What I've learned so far is that reflecting on the good and the bad experiences in your career help create a more dynamic leader in organization. Thank you for listening and enjoy the podcast.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Ryan Holloway. Ryan is the president and founder of Peak Sports Management. Greetings, Ryan. Thanks for joining us.
It's really good to be here, and it's awesome to be back at NACDA, and it's awesome to see people in person. And what a release.
Here at the 2022 NACDA here in Las Vegas. So I wanted to have you on because there's a couple reasons. One being an entrepreneur, starting a business and seeing the outcome of the business you started and it's continues to grow. Leadership. And then also you hired a guy who his father mentored me, and I spent some time mentoring him. That's Wes Abercrombie, which I consider a good friend and colleague of mine. I want to dive in a little bit about the background, right? You worked in college athletics on campus and also with a rights holder. I would say you said 2005 to probably 2011.
Correct.
Started Peak Sport Management in 2012. And now you have roughly 25 schools, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a heck of a journey, and never thought I'd be where I'm at right now. But it's all about the people that are around us, for sure.
Right. So when you first started, was it just you and your wife? Tell me about the.
Yeah, it was. So I came up through the business. So I spent a lot of time in middle school and high school riding the bench, right? And I did a lot of time like looking around at the scoreboard, wondering how Coca-Cola got up there, wondering why is it that we're playing this team? How did the refs get here? So my head was always in the sports business side of things. And what better way to do that than become an athletic director, right? And so that was my first track, is I want to become an athletic director. But I realized real quick, it's a lot of thankless hours. It's a lot of issues on campus. It's really a thankless job. And I came across the sponsorship side of the business. I said, man, that's it right there. I can make an impact.
You can do it.
I can make an impact on my financial bottom line, which isn't what it's all about. But it would really free me up on some nights and weekends more than if I stayed in traditional marketing, to be able to spend time with friends and family.
Yeah, which is excellent. So then 2012 hits, and you're like, talking to your wife.
Yep.
Like, we're doing this for this other company, but I think we probably can do it for ourselves, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And starting a business, I just finished my MBA, right? And one of the things you learned is if you go into a business with a product first, you might not survive, right? But you want to go into a business with a problem and then see how this product or service can solve that problem. What did you see back in 2012 was the problem that you guys could help solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I worked at Texas State. I actually graduated from when it was called Southwest Texas. And that was in the old 1AA days, now FCS. Then I went from there to Northwestern State, and then I went to Rice. And Rice, you take baseball out, and, there's some things that they struggle with. They've got a lot of really good things going there as well. But the problem that I saw was that this FCS level of college athletics, the smaller level of college athletics, there's really a need there, right, for the rights holder. And so for us, we knew that we could go in there, help them raise some money and solve a lot of problems. And so that was the problem that we saw fit. Ohio State hasn't had issues raising money, nor has Texas, but Central Arkansas sure as heck did. And we knew that we could come in and help them raise some money because we were really, really passionate about that space.
Right. So And I guess let me clarify, just in case anybody listening doesn't know what peak sports management is. You guys are a rights holder, right? But I
Correct.
guess I would assume as an entrepreneur mindset, you probably consider yourself more than just a rights holder. Like, how would you define the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I truly feel that if you took any of our general managers or county executives and cut their arms, they're going to bleed the school colors, right? And so we're housed within the athletic departments, and we are a rights holder. The conversation with athletic directors and presidents they always begin and end with revenue, right?
Right.
Because that's why they brought us. But if you were to poll all of our ads, I think revenue would be like 4 or 5 on the list. The other things would be, man, we're helping set a tone in that Monday morning meeting of when we're talking about how many meetings we have. And so once it gets to the ticket manager or it gets to the marketing person or the development person, they're talking about meetings they've had. Having individuals that are wearing your school colors running around the community. When that tunnel that the team runs through
Yeah.
blows over 3 minutes before the team's about to come over, and you go and wrestle that thing down, knowing that we have to roll our sleeves up and help that athletic department. That's really been our X factor for sure. Because these programs don't have a ton of staff members, and us adding a couple staff members is very, very helpful to them, and we enjoy it.
And get things done. Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. Like I mentioned, identify a problem, create a service or product that helps to solve that problem. But then you get to a point where you need to expand the staff, right? You can start in the garage, old
Right.
school, like in the tech industry, but then you start growing, and now you got to expand the staff. And what I've noticed about you is you surround yourself with young professionals, right? And young professionals, they have to be led in a certain direction. When I was a young professional, I needed to be led a certain way, and they like their semblance of autonomy with direction, right? Tell me what I need to do and how I need to do it. Evaluate me by my product, not my process, unless the process is the product type situation. Tell me why that's the philosophy of yours of hiring young professionals.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for one, I would say that they've taken a chance on us, right? Maybe they were trying to go for some quote unquote big opportunities, and maybe they didn't get that call back. And we talked to everybody, and we still talk to everybody. That is something really, really important to us, because I always had that chip on my shoulder. I didn't get into. I got turned down from the University of Texas Business School. Southwest Texas took me in, so I always had that chip on my shoulder. So I love hiring young people because I know that they can work really hard. I know they're going to ask a lot of really good questions. I know they're going to keep me young. I know they're going to keep me in tune with what's going on in the real world. And it doesn't mean like, hey, we're going to do a Twitter campaign. Let's have the young guy do it or the
Yeah.
young girl.
Right.
They're going to know what to do. They can really educate me, right? And I think that's a really, really big part. And going back to the entrepreneur part, it's a term I've always really, really struggled with, because I never thought about getting into this to build it.
Yeah.
And I think the most successful businesses out there are folks that go and find something that they're really, really passionate about. Because let's face it, there's a lot of parts with this business that just really suck. They stink. And during those dips in time when you're getting punched in the gut, you gotta just really plow through it. I used to sell lubricants for ExxonMobil,
Yeah.
and that sucked. And when it got really bad, I just gave up. I'm like, what am I doing here? But this, I'm really, really passionate about it. So hiring these young folks, we find the people that are most passionate, that have that passion, that got that spark in the belly is the term I always use. And we always talk about that, and we're always listening to them. We're always asking for feedback. So if you go to my Twitter bio, we just hit 50 employees. In my Twitter bio, I talk about how I work for 49 people. And I really, really believe that, because I want to see if I can position those folks, because they're the ones with the newest and best ideas, a lot better than mine.
Which is excellent. Defined in terms of leadership, right? In terms of hiring these people, and it might be green coming out of college. Like, what are, for lack of a better word, what are some of the challenges in hiring people who are coming fresh out of college without the experience? You just told us what some of the, I guess, assets are, right? They're curious. They want to know how to be
Sure.
successful. How can I help your organization? How can your organization help me? But what are some of the challenges also with people?
Yeah, I would say the number one challenge isn't with the young person themselves. It's with their parents. We never have conversations with their parents, but so Johnny or Sally works their way through school, might take on a lot of debt, right? They might come out of school with $100,000 of debt, and we're going to pay them 30, 35 grand plus commission, maybe put them up in an apartment, and their parents are saying, no, you need to be making more. And so we really, and anybody listening to this, whether in your car, on the treadmill, or whatever, and you're in this position, feel free to really stand up to the person that's telling you that you shouldn't follow your passion, because they're going to say, well, you need a better paying job. And so what they end up doing is they go get a job working at a bank as a teller, making 47 grand and hating life. But they're making good money when they're fresh out of college, but go and chase your passion. So that is without a doubt the number one thing. Because everybody says, well, I've got to talk to my parents about this opportunity. So for us, we really, really try to challenge them on that. And then actually with them, it might be they're wanting to set the world on fire. They want to get promoted really, really quick. What I find absolutely amusing, I'll be 42 soon. They've been saying this about my generation. When I was 22, like, I wanted everything now. Kids these days was a term 20 years ago. And so that hasn't gone away. For me, it's just understanding with where they're at. I think a big part of what I really try to focus on is just not having an ego at all. And so I ask for input. And if I have to pivot on decisions I've made, I have no problem pivoting because some people might look at that as being weak or foolish. If you've pivoted, for me, I try to get input from a lot of our folks to try to make these decisions.
Right. Thinking about growth, right? One thing I appreciate about you guys is that you made it very intentional to go out and get Black colleges, the HBCUs, as a part of your clientele. And I think that's special, right? Because you see that there's something there that other people may have overlooked over the previous years. Tell me about that aspect, that outreach in terms of reaching out to HBCUs and then bringing them on as clientele and helping them to be successful in their athletics departments.
Absolutely. It's been really special. It's been very organic. It's been intentional. And I think the most important thing, it's been very authentic, right? And I think one thing I've been really proud of is we've been really good stewards of the brand, right? Because since the trials and tribulations of the summer of 20 and George Floyd,
right,
working with HBCUs has become very in vogue, right? And we were very fortunate that we were before all of that. But for us, truth be told, it was a white athletic director that came from a PWI that went to an HBCU, and he called and we'd talking to him at the prior institution. We said, what the heck, let's check it out. And we got on campus and we said, man, this is like every other campus. We said, man, this is a special place. We feel like we can make it an impact. And it sounds crazy in 2022 to say this, and I'm perfectly comfortable saying this, but I'm like, I'm accepted here, right? But it also provided a really good introspective look on people that look completely different than me and how I was raised. And that includes our employees, our athletic directors, and the like. And so when we started at Delaware State and we saw ourselves starting to make an impact and people buying in to what we were doing, both at that school and within the industry, it was really, really special. And then fortunately from there, our phone started to ring. But for us, again, it's something that we've been very, very delicate about, but it's something we've been really, really proud about for sure. It's been a lot of fun. It's been challenging, but man, it's been extremely rewarding to see what we've been able to do.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I want to circle back to young professionals too. Right? You put people on these campuses, and some of these campuses has never had a rights holder, right? And so now, the person on the campus has to figure out and learn how to be a part of the culture of the athletics department, the culture of the school, but also go out and help the school to be successful in bringing in resources. And then if you're talking about a young professional who's 1 or 2 years out, that's a lot of responsibility. So I wonder about not necessarily the training process, but how do you breathe life into someone to have confidence enough to go do that at a campus that may be 600 and 700 miles away from home and they're only 2 years out of college or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not only that, I think our culture, and we're no different than our competitors, where we have our culture, the school has theirs, and then there's a combined culture, right? So we have 3 cultures going on at any given time on 25 campuses, right? And we have to understand and respect that. So, we're at Holy Cross, a Catholic institution. We're down at southeastern Louisiana and at Nichols, where you go to Mardi Gras parade. There's probably some youngsters with a beer in their hand. It's kind of expected there. We're very conservative areas, very liberal areas. And so we really embrace that. We try to find people that we really feel are going to excel into that, right? So not saying we're hiring a Catholic to work at Holy Cross, but they need to understand where they're at. So for us, it's just constantly talking to the folks about what we're trying to do, doing check-in calls with the staff about not our staff members, but like the athletic director or point of contact, just to say, hey, how's Johnny or Sally doing? How are they dressing? How are they really getting involved in y'all's cultures, or something else you want to see? And then I think the most important thing is letting them fail.
Yeah.
Not really purposely, but just, hey, why did this person show up and say this, or why were they wearing this, or why they do this? And it's an opportunity for those folks to grow that way, which I think is really important. And I had some really good leaders that really extended that leash for me, where I could fail, and I was able to learn a lot from that, which I'm extremely grateful for.
Which is excellent. So we're 10 years in. I don't know what you guys' definition of successful is, right? With 25 institutions, but you can easily say, this, I have a passion. We fought this problem. We have created a service/product that can help solve the problem. If we keep getting schools and institutions, I think we're doing a good job, and be happy with that. Or you can continue to try to innovate and iterate in terms of the services you provide and how we can be more creative in providing those services. Talk to me about your methods of staying progressive. One is having young people around you will always keep you progressive and trying to figure out what's next and being creative. But in terms of you and your wife, I guess, in terms of founder, co-founder, owners of the organization, tell me about your innovation process to be able to try to stay ahead of the competition, to try to keep doing things at a high level and expand the company to wherever you guys expand to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's really two things that we're always thinking about is, it's like a baker. If a baker wants to open a bakery, their baked goods are going to be really, really good for a couple weeks, and then they're just not going to have people show up because you have to actually run the bakery, right? So we're always thinking about, all right, we got to bake our goods, but we also we need to try to sell them, right? So there's the actual business of trying to run that, and then there's how are we going to make our baked goods better. And so, about the business perspective, we're very, very fortunate. This is a pride point for us. It's not a bragging or an ego point, but it really formulates how we run our business. But we're very fortunate. About 11 months into our business, we became debt free. And so, minus our house, we're debt free personally and on the business. And so, why does that matter? We're not answering to investors. We're not answering to a bank. We're not answering to a parent company. It puts us into an extreme position of power, so we can work with whoever we want to work with. We don't have to work with people that we don't want to work with. And I know that sounds really, really basic, but it has freed us up so much. So when the pandemic came, we entered the pandemic with no debt. So we got all the way until August before we had one discussion with a single school about we need to modify our contract because you're not playing football games. So that really, really helped us, right? And I think part of that was just dumb luck getting there, but we were able to keep on a vast majority of our employees through the pandemic. And then coming out of the pandemic, we don't have any debt either. So that part has been awesome. But how do we continue to innovate? I think it's some pretty basic things. It's attending events like where you and I are speaking here in Las Vegas at NACTA 2022. It's listening to our young employees, seeing what's out there. I've got a network of mentors and colleagues that I'm always talking to. I think if you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would have said, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to be innovative. But for me, it's I want to make sure that we're not innovating just to innovate, right? I don't want to go and sign all these NIL deals just because that's the hip thing to do right now. I don't want to go and start doing a podcast because we got experts like you doing it, right?
I don't know if I'm an expert, but
well,
okay.
You are. And so that's I think one problem is people try to innovate just to innovate.
Yeah.
And we definitely stay within our hedgehog concept.
Mm-hmm.
So Chick-fil-A, I forget how many years it took. It took 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever, for them to get the spicy chicken sandwich.
Right.
It took us 9 years to start a ticket side of our company. And that of those 9 years, about 4 of those was Wes Abercrombie, our VP of sales, saying, dude, we got to do this. And I'm like, no.
One of these young professionals like, hey,
yeah, we got to do it.
Boss.
We got to do it. And but every time I was doing that, my argument got a little bit better. His argument got a little bit better. And then we got to the point where his argument was better than mine. And I said, okay, we're doing it.
Yeah, right.
And we got to do it. But the point is that we we were in rooms with Wes and Kara as well, where we're darn near screaming at each other, saying, "What are we doing here?" And then we come out of there with a really good solution of not just seeing what's hip on Twitter and just moving forward.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get into esports as soon as the pandemic happened
Right.
because everybody was doing it. So we try to innovate by being by really listening, trying to move through things in a slow yet expeditious manner.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's excellent. I mean, you always at least want to be creative, right? Like you're saying, you don't want to innovate, but you at least want to be creative. So you're not stagnant. The organizational habits aren't stale. Because once you get that way, you start losing people because they want to be in that kind of creative type environment. And I think it's wonderful. You mentioned Wes Abercrombie. I remember when I first met Wes, he was just a little young kid knocking over vases off the, dressers and stuff like that. But he's grown into what he's grown into, which I think is an impressive young man in terms of what he's doing. From the outside looking in, it looks like he's kind of grown with the company. I mean, would you say that about that? And in terms of other entrepreneurships and organizations, if you can bring somebody along young, like we're talking about, and have them grow with the company, how do you consider that to be an asset to the company and an asset to the people that are working for you too?
Yeah, absolutely. What's awesome about it is he started off as an intern. And one term I use a lot is I want people to force me into a position, right? And so he started off an intern, and he forced us into hiring him full time.
Wow.
At the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. We used to rep them, and he didn't force us by saying, "I'm out of here." We just said, "Damn, but this guy, like, he's killing it."
Right.
And so then he's killing it there, and he forces us into another position, and he becomes our general manager at Southeastern Louisiana, one of our youngest, and he's killing it there, and he forces us to promote him to become a regional sales director, and he's doing a heck of a job there, and he forces us to promote him to vice president. And what's awesome about that is people can see the future right now, right? And so when we've got young folks that are interns, we could say the vice president that's a couple levels above you, that guy was in your same position,
yeah.
right? And P.S., you have an apartment we've hooked you up with. This guy right here was having to crash on couches and eat ramen noodles.
Right, yeah.
But that part is really, really good. And we've got a lot of people in our organization that started as interns. And what that has shown us is they believe in what we do, right? And if they don't believe in what we do, I don't have any problem with that. They need to find what they do believe in, right? And so it sounds crazy, but this isn't the crazy part, but I think the future of our organization, the future of any organization, needs to be an internship program, right? Yeah. Here's the crazy thing. I think our internship program is successful because we have more people we have not brought on full time than we have. And why is that successful? It's because, man, when 8 years ago, we were interviewing Johnny, and Johnny was the guy. Well, Johnny, 3 months into working at a school, he's like, I don't like this. Well, if he's interning with us, we find that out. We love Johnny. Let's go find Johnny a job in marketing or compliance or
exactly.
academics or at a bank, whatever that is. And so that is so successful when we find somebody who's given them opportunity. They're like, this isn't my thing. Great, move on.
Right.
But if it is their opportunity, let's roll. We were fortunate with folks like Wes, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
With folks just like him.
Guys, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you doing. I appreciate what you're doing for Wes. Appreciate what you're doing for the industry, what you're doing at these HBCUs and all the other schools that you're located in. And looking at you from the entrepreneurship lens, I think it's an excellent study on how to create and maintain a successful environment. So I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Absolutely. It's awesome. And entrepreneurship is, please don't put that in your bio if you're listening and you have an idea. Go work the idea out, and then in your bio, put what you actually do.
Actually did, yeah.
Entrepreneurs are singer-songwriters. They're whatever
it is.
Photographers. Go out and do something. Go out and follow your passion, and you're going to love it. And then the money will follow.
Yeah. Excellent conversation. That was Ryan Holloway. He is the president of Peak Sports Management, and I am Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.